Hello, in these videos that I hope to make, I will be showing you how to use the T3 stack, which I've been interested in. That's TypeScript, Tailwind, and tRPC. And to do that, I plan to make a federated social network using ActivityPub. I'm not terribly familiar with ActivityPub and T3, so hope you'll bear with me as I learn with you. But here I've put together some sketches of what I plan to implement in these video series that I plan to make. This is the mobile. Pretty good, all open source, free. Suppose we should get started then. Whoops. Let me increase this. So this is just the command to create it. We'll be calling this Gibber. I feel like it's quite a funny amusing name. TypeScript. Try nextauth, which provides authentication. Prisma, which is the database ORM sort of stuff. Tailwind for styling, and tRPC for server fetching stuff. And we'll create a new Git repo and go ahead and npm install. And I'll start off with just doing the initial git commit. Basic project. CD into it. The other thing I want to do is change prettier to have a tab width of 4. I know some people like the 2 or maybe 3 is the most controversial, but prefer 4. Then we'll run prettier on this, so npx prettier right, and then right to the project. I think that's good. Open the project up. I'll run the server. npm run dev to start the T3 server. Running on 3000. So we'll open that up. Okay, that looks good. Oh, we should probably have yeah, because prettier overwrote all that stuff, so I'll just amend it. Amend the git commit. Okay, that looks good. Yeah, let's restart it. Okay, so suppose we'll do the mobile first. So we'll start just right here and maybe do this, profile header. Let's open up pages, index. Let's just clear some of this stuff out. Start with just a basic div, delete all that. Just say like Monroe, just my name. Oh, whoops. Yeah, that needs to be in it. Okay. Looks good. So maybe we'll start with this header. So this is, this needs to be resized at various screen widths while saving its aspect ratio. To do that, Tailwind, has this plugin called aspect ratio that will pull in. And basically what this does is it provides us styling through Tailwind, to maintain the aspect ratio. So if you look at this, this is a 3 width, 1 height. So we would have, 3 width, and then this would just be 1. I think we need to pull that into our Tailwind plugin. So that's, this is how you install a Tailwind plugin. You go to Tailwind config, go down to your plugins, put that in. Now, let's say we want this div to have an aspect ratio. So, aspect width of 1, or width of 3, aspect height of 1. And let's pull up the Tailwind colors. And so we'll be using neutral just as something to see what we're doing. So I think that's, like background neutral 50. I think that might work. Probably need to restart the server. Okay, so this is 3 width and 1 height. This is what we want. Now let's add a max width, because if we look at the design I put together, just this is not set in stone. We can always change this stuff, but I plan to have this to be 615 width as the max. So let's add a div, and then add a class name. So say max width 615 pixels. And you can, if there's not a size specified, you can use these brackets to put something in. Now you can see, there's this banner up here, and preserves its 3x1. And let's just look at this in mobile view first. Let's use iPhone 12. Nice. Now, there would be an image here if the user adds it. But let's go back and see what we should try to do next. Maybe this section. So I think this maybe would be like a div containing the avatar, and then the user and the address for the user. Since this is federated, it has the domain, like an email address, and then the person's preferred username, I think. Let's see. Yeah, preferred username. Close that out. That'll be below the banner. So let's create a div. And then let's think about this. So we have the avatar. That'll be in its own little container. And then we have, the user. So this will be another section. I think that sounds good. Let me think about, I guess let's just start with that. So class name, we'd probably want this to be flex. And then we'll have a div for the person's avatar. And then another div for the, stuff just containing the person's name and username or address, Let's start, let me think about this. So this has to be like an absolute position upwards, so it overlaps with the header. So that would be, we probably need a relative on the top container, and then we have another container inside of it. This would be absolute, and we want it to be 100 by 100. So let's just say height 100 pixels, width 100 pixels. And then we probably needed to give it a background. So let's say just background neutral. Let's just give it a darker color at first so we can see it. Okay, so now we need to position it upwards. And we know it's going to be 100 by 100, so we can just do like top and then -50 pixels. Okay, so now that splits it. You know, if this was a different color, you could better see that. So this was like, you know, so you can see this is halfway. Okay. Probably want it rounded, so let's add a rounded full. I'll make it like a circle. You know, we probably want some padding. I believe this was 24. So this is 24 margin. Or, you know, padding on this parent container. Let me think. How do we want to organize this? So since there's this border, this needs to be its own container, and then each of the posts will be its own container. You know, that way it gets the full width. See how this border goes from, you know, the edge to the other edge. So, probably want to wrap, whoops. Do we want to wrap this? Yeah, let's do that. Let's wrap this div and then say, give it just a padding for now. Should this, let's say a margin. So we want it at 24, so it'll be 6. So a margin of x of 6. So yeah, that does the offset. Okay. And then let's add some more, like, you know, info, like the person's username. So we want that to be like, and maybe, you know, paragraph tags. So whoops. Charles Monroe programs. Let's just offset that. So to do that, I think we probably need to add a, would it be a basis? Like, if we could do a width, well, since it's flex, let's just do basis. It's like a basis of 100 pixels. That should offset it by 100 pixels. And we probably want this to have a margin left of maybe 4. How many? Let's see how far this. I think it was, normally I was doing 14 pixels. So let's do 3.5. Okay. And then let me think about this. So we have the avatar, then we need another called like programs at, that looks good. So on this whole thing, why did that margin left 3.5? Shouldn't that work? Oh. So that should be 100 pixels, right? Oh, it's probably, oh, okay, because it's shrinking. Right, so this thing is causing the avatar to shrink. So we're going to want to disable shrinking on the avatar. Is that right? So add a shrink of 0. Okay, yeah, now it's working. What else should we do? Probably add a border so we can kind of add a border to the avatar. It's like white or something. So let's do a border. Then this was set a drop shadow of 2. Let's do a border of 2 to begin with. Probably need to make it white, so let's border white, is that right? Background. Yeah, okay, cool. I'll just make this darker for now, so you can kind of see it. Okay. Now we probably want this to be text large. That looks good. This might overflow. Like, let's say this is a small screen, you know? Like, let's say this is like that. See how this overflows? So we're gonna want to maybe add ellipse. Does that look good? Let's just start with saying, you know, hide the overflow. So overflow hidden. Is that gonna work? No. Okay, let me think about this. So we have this content. This is flex. Then we have this, and this is overflowing. So why is that? This is overflowing. This is a shrink. Oh, it's okay. This will not shrink. So this will have a flex expanding its entire content. So if we add a min width, try that. Okay, yeah. Since, gosh, I'm forgetting exactly why, but flex. This is like a hack, or not really a hack. It's like define the spec, but see, flex min width, overflow. Let's see if that brings up anything. Yeah, you're encountering a Flexbox default setting. Yeah, so it goes to auto. And since it's auto, a flex item cannot be smaller than the size of its content along the main axis. So on a flex item whose overflow is visible in the main axis when specified on the flex item's main axis min size property, it specifies an automatic minimum size. So I'm guessing the minimum size is just bigger than the parent, since this thing isn't shrinking, since we have a shrink 0 on it. So by, you know, overriding that to be 0, it then fits it to the parent. It looks kind of weird. So if we make it, you know, like, I'm always forgetting how to spell, is it? I'm so bad at this. Is it ellipsis? Ellipsis. Okay, there we go. Probably want to make that copyable, you know, in the future. But for now, it's just about getting the basic thing working. So let's have this bio. I think in the spec it's called a summary. So to do that, let's just do something below this flex wrapper. And actually, should we add a min? Let's just add like a margin top to. Yeah, looks good. So I think this started at 8 pixels. So now let's create the summary. Should be summary for now. We don't need this anymore. And that will have 28. Is that like there's this helpful calculator. I should probably have done it in RIM though. So this is 28. 7, so margin top 7. That works. It'll probably look better with more text, but we can always change the design later. Then we need another container for the followers and following. Just have 2, since this is slightly bold, of a span. Say, font bold, or maybe it should be. So this is a medium versus a regular. So let's just say semi-bold. And then I think the other one's 300. We'll worry about factoring this stuff out once we get more stuff. Just need to get started somewhere. So this probably should be flex. Okay, and then probably need a margin. Should do the standard 14 pixels on a 16 pixel font, since it's in RIM. Looks good. Probably need another, so margin left 3.5. I believe that was 14. Oh, that's 20. So what is that? Is that like 5 or something? Okay. Let's add a space. That looks better. Now once we have this basic template, let's maybe try adding using a fetch. So in the spec, if we look at it, this is a type of person, is the profile, let's say. So we're going to fetch a person. So look in the server API. Routers, let's rename this to person. And then we need to do a rename here from example to person. Whoops. Oh gosh. Okay. Guess that doesn't exist yet. Okay, actually just get rid of these. And then let's call this, so let's say a person visits this profile, visits my profile. Then they need to fetch, they only will have the URL, it'll be like /Monroe programs. So they know my username. So I should probably get a person by username. And then this will just be a username. So this is the thing that we pass. If we look in the index page, see how we have to pass the server some value. It's like, let's say we want to pass the value Monroe programs. Now on the server we can access this value of username. And this will be, we're using the API, the person route, we're getting by username, so get by username. And we're filtering on the username Monroe programs. Now if we go back to our person router, you can see this is that function that we were giving tRPC, and then we're validating this username input, and it shows up here in the query in this input variable. And then, just to get started, let's say this returns something, and it will return a person. So now let's go back and look. The thing to understand, or that I have gathered, but I'm not sure if I am right about this, is ActivityPub is how to federate a website, So it's talking about how servers talk to other servers and that sort of stuff. But internally it will have our own API, and that will use tRPC. Then we'll have another API that's just the normal just like a normal Next.js API that's like REST or RESTful, and that will be using like these sorts of things, like getting a person, that's what we'll return, or getting creating a new note. This is the API and the format that we'll use in that. But since we're just using this tRPC internally on our own site, we can kind of define how we want to define things, but we should probably use something similar to the spec. So for now, let's just say like an ID of example ID, and then we'll probably want like an avatar. And I kind of would like this to be, I have looked at the Mastodon API just see what they're doing, because I want it to be somewhat similar to theirs, so you could use this and connect to Mastodon instance. Same with PeerTube. I think they did something similar. Now let's I have a couple of images, so let's say this will just end up in the public folder under, let's say, avatar.png, and then we'll have a header. Just put that in header.png. And then we need to move this into public, and then move the header file also. These are just a couple of things that I got from the Figma file. That looks good. And then let's have a name. Let's say this will be just like display name. Probably need the username, address, like you would have an email address. So this should be like at the at this address, at this domain and URL. or not really URL, but domain and port. And then I think it's called a summary, right? Yeah, so summary. And then here, let's just grab the summary. Then what else do we need on this page? Followers and following. Let's call this followers count. Put it to 211. Following count. Put it to 300. Main thing is just to get something, some basis going on this. I don't know if we'll get to the database section today, but that'll be another video. So this would be person. Let's see if this works. So this should return the data after it fetches. And I'm not sure what I'm looking at. Let's see. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay. So the result has our data. And there's several things, like is loading. So if it's, loading something, you can see. And then when it finishes loading, it goes to false. So at first it's loading, then it finishes loading. So I'll probably want to have like a spinner or something. Like let's say person.is loading, then we'll have a spinner here. Tailwind spinner. Probably can use something from here. Animate spin. Is that what we want? I wonder if we can, inspect element and then grab this, This would be copy the outer HTML. Put that in. Probably need a class name. So it works with React. That looks good. And then, just to test this out, we'll, so it stays like longer. We'll just say when it's not loading that we can see it. Okay, so that's going up there. It's pretty small though. So we probably want to increase the size of it to maybe like 12 or something. I guess larger, but it's text white. We want to use these colors I was using. Let's see, that's EF444. So that's red 500. So do red 500. Okay, that's a spinner. Slightly has too much opacity. Let's just remove that. Looks better. Probably want it to fill up the whole screen, so let's give it a height of just screen, which gives it, the full screen height. Okay, and then we want to center it. Do that, use flex. Items, center, justify, center. That looks good. It's loading screen. It's a little too big. That's better. Going for a little, I think Twitter has something similar to this. Okay. And we only want this shown when it finishes loading, or when it has the data actually. So say person.data, and then put that down here. And then we'll use it to fill in the data. So person.data. Or actually this will be name. will be person.data.address. Whoops. Address. It's looking good. This will be the summary. So person.data summary. Looking good. This will be person.data.followers. Yep. Person.data.following. Nice. Coming together. And since we pulled in those images, now we can, put in the header and the avatar, So to do that, let's pull in import image from next image. And this does things like caching the image, and you can do multiple things with it. Let's return this to maybe like 200. It's just like slightly darker than the header, but not too terribly different. It looks good. Let's see what 100 looks like. I think let's just do that for now. We can always change the styling. Now we'll want to bring in the image. But, an image will be optional, so it should only be if the avatar is not null. Whoops. And then this will have a source of person.data.avatar. A width. So this will be width of 100. Height 100. Okay, let's come together. Now we'll probably want the overflow to be cut off, so we don't, this is overflowing the circle that we had. So just say overflow hidden. That looks good. Why is this giving alt is missing? So nice. Now what do we want? Play a look back here. So this was, had slight opacity. So we changed this back to, maybe 500. You can see this doesn't have that opacity, See how this has that? But we really only want that when the image is there, or else it'll, like the opacity will just be too light, to see against the background. So to do that, we need conditional classes. So if the image is there, then show it. If not, then don't show the opacity. So we should probably pull in class names npm. Yeah, that's what I want. So npm install dev dependency class names. Yep. Okay. Now here, we'll want to conditionally render the opacity. So let's do, actually we need to import it, right? So say import class name from class names. So we'll change this to be brackets so we can use the class names inside of it. So class, or class name I should say, class name. So we want all of that to be there, all of these styles. However, we want a conditional style. And this will be only if the person.data.avatar is not null. So it's there. Then we will want a border opacity of 25, let's say, because I think that was 25%. And the other thing is, okay, so I was thinking that, so since the opacity, we need to clip the border because, or clip the background actually, because opacity applies to the whole element, not just the border. So to do that, we need to clip the background, or I should say the opacity of the background applies to everything, including the border. So to do that, we need to clip out the background. We just do that with background clip. And then we want to do the padding, which is like the exterior of it, including the border. Yeah, so that works. Now you can see it has this opacity. Anything else? I think that looks pretty decent. Now I'll take care of the header. So where's that? It's here. Same thing, it's kind of person.data.header. Then we'll want to bring in an image, source of person.data.header. Same thing. I think we could have actually done 100%, but it'll just resize it. So we could just do like, I think those images are 300 by 100, but the max it'll be is 600. What is the max? So when I look on desktop, so what is this? This is 615 by 205. Height 205. Yeah, see, this just gets resized to whatever it is, even though the original is, the max will ever be, it'll be 615 by 205. They'll probably want an alt person's header. Okay, coming together nicely. Now the next thing is these tabs. And we'll get the options and stuff later. Not all this stuff needs to be done immediately. Let's just do this section next. A little bit more styling. So we'll have a div. That'll probably contain 3. Actually, let's just do the first one first. So it'll contain a paragraph, post. This will be just say a max of 40. So height of 40 actually. And then we'll want it to be flex, so it all expands out, So like all 3 of these expand into like, rows or columns, columns. So to do that, we need the flex. And then we'll also want this height to be 40. So we can just say this is the full height. Now if you look at it, Oh, that's, whoops. This should be, we want it to be 40 pixels. So that's 10, so height of 10. Nice. Probably want the margin top just to be the normal 3.5. Now this first one will be active, but we also want the text to be centered. But let's first just give it a background red, so that's FEFE. Red of 50. Okay, so now we want to give it some width, So that's 41 width by 89. Oops. $24, so that'll probably be 6. Did I do that right? Let's just double check. Width of 41, width of 89. Okay, and then divide that by 2. Yeah, so 24. So we want it to be on the x-axis, expanding out of 6. And then we'll want to center it. So this needs to be flex and item center, so it gets into the vertical center. And then this was semi-bold. And it had a B91C. Where is it? Okay, there it is. Okay, now we want to, curve these borders like it has here. See how these are curved? So let's attempt to do that. We'll want to round the parent to be rounded, and then we want the top, probably want a large round. It's looking good. Let's just copy this now. Oops. So now we have 3. And then this was post and replies, and this was likes. That looks familiar, doesn't it? Now we need a spacing between them. Let's just say like a spacing of our normal 3.5. It's looking better. Let's get rid of the backgrounds though. Okay, let's change the color. I think the closest is 600. Let's just change these to 600. Oops. These need to be neutral. Nice. Now let's add a border. Yeah, so after it's loading, where do we want it? Probably Should we create another container? Thinking we probably should. This is the header. Actually, no, we can use this since this is the header. This is all of the other content, so we should probably just add it on here. Add a border. Okay, maybe not. There's padding though. And we want it to be on the bottom. Yeah, okay. We want it to be 2 pixels, I think. Yep, 2. And we want the color to be our neutral 50. Nice. I think that looks somewhat similar. Anything else we need to do? Let's check all this stuff over. It's 100 by 100. Okay, that's good. Actually, this think about this. You know, this is 100 by 100. We want the border to add to the width, not take away from it. You know. So do that. We need to box the content instead of border. Instead of instead of having the border box, we want the content box. Box sizing. So we want to box the content so the border adds to it instead of takes away. Yes, that's 104 by 104 now. Yes, so this is 100, then the border adds to it to be 104 because it's 2 and 2 on each side. I think that looks good. Wondering maybe you should change the title. That'd be good. So, whoops. Should call this Monroe apostrophe profile. Looks good. And we can resize it. Probably don't want that happening. I wonder if all these are shrink of 0. That'll cause it to overflow. Probably want this whole thing to yeah, so we probably want this whole thing to overflow and then it becomes scrollable. Shrink 0. And this is like overflow auto, then you could scroll it like that. Probably want to figure that out, but that's only on small screens. So let's just do that for now. And we probably want this whole, actually want this whole thing to be taken up. So let's add a overflow auto. And we want to take up like the whole, actually do we? Yeah, I guess we do. So let's actually put this below that div. And then we want the border to go on that. So, okay. And then we want the first one to be a 3.5. So let's say this was smaller. Okay, yeah, so now it scrolls the whole thing. A little bit more room too, so. Kind of like that. We'll see how it looks on desktop later, but for now, let's just focus on mobile. I think that's enough for this video. Stay tuned for more though. Hopefully I'll be able to finish this. Should be an interesting project at least. Hope you learned something. Seeing you in the next one, and make sure you subscribe.